Hello everyone and welcome to Keeping Up with Comics. I am your host Eric and today we are discussing Saga. And not just Saga, but Saga 43, 44, and 45. Oh, Saga. Well, we are on the 8th volume. By now, those that are following Saga pretty much have an idea of what the story's about. I mean, it is on the 8th volume, although the story is always changing. If you haven't heard of Saga, you got to get out there and check it out. It is a very good book by Brian K. Vaughan, and the art by Fiona Staples is incredible, and we'll be showing some of those pieces right up here in this area pretty shortly. Alright, where to begin? Well, issue 43 is the beginning of the new story arc. It doesn't have a title yet, but yeah, it is absolutely fantastic. This is the 25-cent issue from Image Comics to celebrate their 25th anniversary. They had, maybe Invincible had one, Walking Dead had one, Outcast had one, and Saga had one. So these, I don't know, this book might not be as readily available as Walking Dead 163 was. That one there with the incentive covers, they're everywhere. I know the local comic book store that I visit had a good 300 extra copies, which was incredible. But here we go. So we start off with, where we left off with one of our heroes, Alana, had a miscarriage. So now they are off to find somewhere where they can have an abortion, and where else would they go to but Abortion Town. There's some more beautiful art from Fiona Staples. Yeah, this book, the subjects and the topics that they talk about in this book are just unreal. There's the overall story of the two warring races, the Horns and the Moon and the Winged People, and of course our two characters, Marco and Alana, have come together, and they had Hazel, which is of course a mix of the two races, and they play that. Brian K. Vaughan keeps bringing that back to the forefront of the story once in a while, especially now with Hazel getting a little bit older, and they've picked up this character. What's her name? Hold on, it will come to me. It starts with a P. Petrichor? I'll call her Petri. So found out that Petri is transgender, and with Hazel being as young as she is, asking all the questions, all that stuff. There's they tie together things like different races, interracial relationships, transgender, the aspect of feeling like you fit in and you belong and finding that place where you belong, and children asking those kind of questions. As you can see that in these panels here up on the screen now, that we've got Petri and Hazel discussing the her genitals and her gender and how she feels and what's going on. And we see that in this next one, we see here that Hazel herself has concerns about how she feels, and now she doesn't know. She's got these traits of her, the horns and the wings, and doesn't know just what else is going to happen. I mean, is this gender change going to happen with her too? She doesn't know. We don't know. With this book, anything can happen, as Brian K. Vaughan has shown us before, that he can do anything, and it always works out. It always comes together in some way. It is always relevant to the plot of the entire story, going all the way back to the first issue. It is just absolutely fantastic. I've got to say that these bad guys these villains, these enemies that keep popping up on every planet that they go to, these new dung people here that you see on the screen, is just probably the most disturbing and disgusting ones that I've seen yet, and I just loved it. It was fantastic. It really it makes you think back to the volumes where they were this arcs where they were flying around in the tree spaceship, and and it makes you think of these different things about transportation and going from planet to planet that you don't think about. And with Marco emptying all the sewage, and then them turning into these dung people that represent the people that shat them out. It's just, yeah, it works, and it's great, and it's disgusting. It makes for fantastic art and just enjoyable. I mean, you get these social aspects that are a little bit more realistic and a little bit more there's a little bit more tension, and depending on the readers, how they are, how they perceive things, you know, it might be a little bit hard to go through, but then you get these lighthearted moments that just really come together, and it's fantastic. As you see in this next shot, which might be a little bit confusing if you haven't read the issue yet, and it makes sense down the road when we get to the other issues that I'm covering here. But and you can see the fantastic art here that Fiona Staples has put together, and it's just gorgeous. I love things like lightning and fire. I think it looks fantastic as artwork. Fiona Staples destroys it, just does a great job here. You see that, yeah, Alana is shooting fire from her hands, and as far as we know, she doesn't have those abilities. We also know that she is carrying a fetus inside her womb that she's going to get aborted, and those things might just be all tied together. Yeah, so the issue pretty much ends that way, where, you know, it keeps you wondering. We've got the next issues here, we'll keep talking about them, so, you know, the cliffhanger won't last for a whole month, it should only last for a couple of moments here for you. Going on to issue 44, you can see from these covers, we'll look at 43 and 44 here, you can see that it's got a real Wild West tone to it, and from that first opening page, the full page I showed you with Abortion Town, it does have some influence, and you'll see here, I'll show these panels here because I don't have them cropped out for the screen, but you can see the introductory of a few new characters here. Yeah, like a horse riding half man horse, death horse, I'm not really sure, but it works. It's great because you've seen all the other characters Fiona does and designs, and they are absolutely gorgeous. Looking through here, the second issue is much similar to a lot of second issues and story arcs. It just continues to flesh out the main idea that's introduced in the first issue. We do get a little bit more of Petrie, since she was introduced in the prison, and the first introductory of her is, of course, showing off that she does have male genitalia and she is a transgender. That we do see here that she does have a little bit of a softer side, and there might be a little bit of a background story, much like all the characters in the book usually do. We see that she's a little bit softer side. She is lonely. She's a very lonely person as it comes across. We don't know if that ties in at all with the a little bit of anger and aggression she has. Don't really know. We do get to see from this panel here, a great lightning shot. Send me someone to fuck. Well, why not? Does it work? No, it doesn't. She just ends up getting herself into a little bit of trouble. We'll see down the road here. This issue does end with, of course, another sex scene that Alana wakes up from, and she believes she's dreaming, and she has a vision of what her son would look like if he was born, but of course he has died in the womb before birth. And that is, you know, a bit of a cliffhanger. Here it is right here. You see that shot there. And it works really well. Of course, I got to continue the story right away because I hadn't been caught up yet. But as a cliffhanger, before I opened the next book, I was thinking, wow, like, what's going on? It becomes apparent real quick that it is actually the powers that Marco has passed to the fetus that then has died in the womb, that has then passed that on to Alana, and so she's able to use these powers to project what her son would look like. And Marco here on this panel here explains a little bit of what that's about. And then you see that when Hazel wakes up, they get along right away. You see them hugging, they start to play. You see he's farting in her face, which, you know, kids like to do, things like that. We get to see a little bit of gore, something that, as an Image comic reader and other fans of Image Comics, know that all of these writers like to include gore. Brian K. Vaughan is no exception, and Fiona Staples, as you see right now, does a fantastic job of expressing that gore as Petrie rips off one of her captors, captees. I can't remember. Right after Petrie bites off one of her captors' nose, we have Sir Robot come and blast her free with a heroic pose that has me thinking that Petrie and Sir Robot are going to have a thing. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I think that after reading this issue and seeing that happen, yeah, my prediction is that yes, they will get together somehow, and one of them will make love to the other. As we see here at the end of the story of this issue, we get to see Hazel express a little bit of the powers that she's gained now, and we get to see that as Alana needs help, her mother, Hazel is able to channel the energy, and you get to see a few panels like this one right here. We get to see a little bit of the lightning coming through. She channels the lightning to her mother, which then kind of kickstarts her heart, and she wakes up. That's when they actually get to their destination in the Badlands, where they're going to find someplace that Alana can have her abortion without any concerns of the whole horns and wings feud, and we are left with a cliffhanger of a very ugly wolf that is greeting them to this manor out in the Badlands. And of course, since this is the newest issue that came out on Wednesday, we do not know yet what's going to happen. So yeah, Saga, it is absolutely fantastic, and this arc is no exception, much like all the other ones. I highly recommend picking it up, and for $2.99 US, it is a steal of a price. I mean, just look at these covers. They are so beautiful. Fiona Staples does such a great job in the art. It is by far one of the most beautiful books out there right now, and if it's not on your pull list, definitely put it on there. If you are more into having a complete series, pick up all the volumes. You will not regret reading through any of the 7 volumes. So yeah, that wraps up today's video. This is Keeping Up with Comics. I was Eric, and remember to subscribe and follow us on all your favorite social media platforms. Alright, take care.